What's good, everyone? Welcome to the fifth episode of 21 Questions, a High Ground Q&A. I am your host, OG Bam, and I'm thrilled to have you join us and continue this exciting journey where curiosity meets conversation. On this episode, I am joined by another one of the owners of the Playin Possum Podcast, Mr. GH2. Brother, how are you?
Oh, doing good. I'm doing good. Just finished actually recording the latest episode. Kind of give myself a little drink. That's what took me so long to get over here. But
Well, this
feeling pretty good.
I watched part of that episode, as I usually do every week. That I don't record on a Wednesday. Um, it was a good episode. Everybody else go watch it. It will be available at the link I have below for this episode for this for them for Triple P Playin Possum Podcast and on the website where you can find more about them as well. How this works is easy. Well, easy is as a concept to each their own. But you are a brilliant person, so it should be easy, fairly easy, as close to truthful as you can, and it should be thought provoking. Um, if you want to make it funny, answer funny. So this is different again, as Triple P has their own set of questions that I come up with because they are not HGU, and I like to see where their mind is on their side of things. He also has a few extra questions. Well, not extra. He's still 21. But dealing with his life because I know a few things that y'all don't know, and hopefully he'll answer the things that y'all don't know. So,
All right,
Mr. GH2, I nicknamed you on my prompt for the questions because 21 I can't remember. I nicknamed you the Professor.
I like that.
All right, number one. This would be great. You're married, so this would be a great question. Number one, imagine that you're the general manager of a dessert draft. Okay,
Dessert draft.
dessert draft. Yeah. You get the first pick. What's the greatest dessert of all time, and do you think your wife's baking would be a top tier prospect?
Number one dessert draft pick.
Yes.
Oh man, see, I have a sweet tooth like you wouldn't believe. So I don't. It's no one dessert. Starting off strong, aren't we, Bam? Dessert draft. I gotta go with the OG classic, the yellow cake with the chocolate frosting. I gotta go with that. That would be my first pick, mostly just because there usually when people ask me questions like this, it's like I want to answer it with the best of my ability, but I would need a lot more than the immediate answer people are asking for. So whatever comes to mind first just gets there. So that's not to say that I have a favorite dessert because I like a lot of desserts, not one over the other. But this is the second part of that question. My wife's baking. Yeah, I actually
absolutely be top five.
of course. Run story a couple years ago for my birthday. I asked for just a yellow cake with chocolate frosting, but I hadn't had it in a while. And my mom looked at me like, "Are you sure that's what you want?" It seems sort of plain. I'm like, "Yeah, go back to the base a little bit. It's a classic." I've had some extravagant cakes over the years. Some that my wife has made me, some that we got from a store. Some are really matter to me, but one that I hadn't had in a while was the yellow cake with chocolate frosting.
The classics always are the best. Okay. Well, that question surely shouldn't land you in hot water with the wife. So, okay, this one might though. If your relationship had a theme song from a game, what would it be and why?
Theme songs from a game. The theme song of a game. I don't know what song would fit this. 'Cause I'm gonna go a little bit off the base of your question here.
Mm.
If I could describe my marriage in future words, it's the words "why not." There's a lot of things that we've done in our relationship, even before we got married, where we were just like, "Why not?" Just having fun experience. Our wedding itself was very much a "why not" experience. We had our reception at a Topgolf because why not? I'm not sure what video game themes.
Sounds like Mario Party. Why not?
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. If it was mine, my personal, since I'm not in a relationship like that, would probably be Dark Souls. So,
That's kind of dark. You're right over there.
I am me. Okay, number 3, what takes more mental energy? Writing a dissertation, because you're a PhD student, writing a dissertation or debating nonsense on Playin Possum Podcast. Which one has
The
tested
latter
your patience
for sure.
more?
The latter for sure. One, because I haven't gotten to the dissertation stage, but if I could imagine if it's been like another paper that I've written of that magnitude, the latter for sure. Just I can sit down, and once I get started, I can crank out a few pages here and there, just because it's just sort of letting my mind take over. But debating nonsense. Were you specifically asking like the Discord or the
on the
podcast
podcast?
itself?
Yeah, on the podcast.
And it's the podcast definitely, because a lot of times I have to sort of wade where I want to put my personal opinion out there, but also have to, we're having a dialogue, we're going back and forth and discussing. But I'm also an introvert with a very low and decreasing social battery. So at about like you probably notice it, and unless we're like on a roll at about like the 90-minute mark, I'm just running on fumes, waiting for the last half hour to finish.
Yeah,
And it does not, anything against anyone else on the podcast. It's not like, oh my God, I'm just dreading the last half hour. It's just at that point, I have had a long day. I'm tired, but I don't want to take away from the product any more than that.
right.
So yeah, definitely the podcast takes more mental energy than a dissertation.
All right. That it would probably be the writing the dissertation for me, simply because I have 4 cat books that mean nothing to nobody, and I'd probably try to write a dissertation in all meows.
You probably write that in like 20 seconds. Just
meow. Number 4, all right, this one should okay. If someone were to find a book of your thoughts 500 years in the future, what would you want to be written inside?
my thoughts 500 years into the future.
Mm-hmm.
I would want it to be everything I wanted to say or do in response to someone that I never did.
The latter half of that 90 minutes, then I suggest.
And it's not even the fact that like I feel like I haven't been able to assert myself. It's a lot of times I'll be so upset in the moment, but I won't have any outlet to express that. I can talk about it. I can just sort of isolate myself, but there's been so much over, I'm what? I just turned 28. So there's a lot in the last 28 years, in the whole 28 years of my life. There's a lot of things that I've wanted to do or say to or at someone that I never did because of concerns about whether or not people would believe me, people would more than likely not take my side, or say, no, that was messed up, but you shouldn't have done this. Well, But if I could capture all of those thoughts from the 28 years and beyond, 500 years from now, that would be what I would put in there.
Seems rather legit. Hopefully somebody would get it and be like, yeah, I agree with this guy. Too bad he's not alive for me to tell him that. Because there's surely going to be somebody. All right, number 5. This first 5, we're just breaking into what we might get into type of questions. What inspired you to pursue a PhD, and how has the journey challenged or changed you?
So I applied for a PhD on a whim, more or less. So I got to back up because there's a whole story attached to this. When I was in my undergrad in the late 2010s, I wanted to be an FBI agent. That was the overarching goal when I got to college, because I was enamored by all the TV shows and all that and the glitz and glamour of it all. Didn't know too much about it. Just graduating high school, but I figured, okay, I got family that's in law enforcement that could help me out connections wise. All I gotta do is get the degree, and I'm good to go. As I'm going through my degree program, I'm starting to realize, okay, maybe this isn't for me. I'm liking the thematic portion of it, the knowledge that I'm gaining, and how to sort of look at it critically from one angle or another. But I never really resonated with I'm going to be a practitioner with this. I'm going to be out there in the field doing stuff like that. And no hate to those who can. All power to you. That's just not me. So around the back half of my junior year, I was just like, well, I don't want to do this as strong as I do anymore, but what could I do with this? Because a lot of what I would need to do for FBI agent or any other sort of law enforcement practitioner would be to cut my teeth as a street cop, which is something I definitely was not interested in.
Yeah.
And I understand, you gotta pay your dues somewhere, but I'd rather take, I'd rather be like Ned from Spider-Man, Spider-Man Homecoming, guy in the chair. That was more of what I wanted to be. But when I got to grad school as a master's student, I was still sort of in that capstone practitioner sort of route until the pandemic hit. And everything just turned on its head. I almost failed out of my master's program because right before the pandemic, I took a class that was well out of my field and was way over my head. It was a psychopathology class with a bunch of clinical psychology students who all knew what they were doing. I was severely unprepared. But the pandemic actually saved me because while we were going remote for the rest of the semester, the exams were shortened to where the part that I excelled at was all I had to do. So I was like, yes, I can still make it out of here. And then when I got to, this is 2020, 2021. So all of this coincided with the death of George Floyd, the Ahmaud Arbery case, all that stuff that's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And especially around the death of George Floyd with the discussion of qualified immunity.
Right.
And I was thinking, well, I kind of want to see, do some research about this. And I went to one of my professors and said, I want to write a thesis about qualified immunity. Mind you, I have I'm gonna have a semester and a half left of my master's program at this point. So I'm already way behind the timeline that they were wanting me to do. I ended up writing that thesis in all of, for 3 full months of just nonstop writing, like data collection, writing. It took me from like the beginning of the semester through like the first week of April. I was just constantly writing or running the data for this, constantly writing. I wrote the thesis and I defended it and everything. But right before I started, my professor was like, why don't you get a PhD? It's not that far. And like she who had just gotten hers a couple years earlier, she was like, it's not as hard as you think it is. People will see the PhD and it carries so much weight in it, and rightfully so. But one thing I noticed that once you get to grad school, it's no longer about how smart you are. It's about how well you're willing to put in the work.
Yeah.
You're already smart enough to get the degree. You're already smarter. We're not here to test whether or not you can memorize some facts that were put in a textbook like 5-10 years ago. We want to know, can you produce your own knowledge? Can you find out what others have figured out about a topic, and can you create your own? And can you, do the same thing? So that's what I've had to do. And you asked me, like, can you repeat the back half of the question? Because I've been talking about for like 2 minutes. I want to make sure I actually answer your question here.
How has the journey challenged or changed you?
So the journey itself has been, I've had a lot of support from my wife, from my family, from my friends, everyone that I talked to is rooting for me, colleagues even. It's exposed a lot of my mental health, in that I've realized a lot more about myself and my mental health that I have. I'm not diagnosed or anything. I'm not trying to self-diagnose, but there were a lot more fits of anxiety that I've had in the past few years that I've ever had before in my scholastic life. But I was able to identify it as such and, still work to find out about that. But it's changed me in that I have a better understanding of the criminal justice system from multiple angles, whether they be from the practitioner side, from the research side, or from the pedagogical side, teaching, all that stuff like that. I've been a student teacher for the last 5 semesters. I'm finishing on my 6th semester as a professor. As a professor of record, as an instructor of record. Drake's getting to me. As an instructor of record. So I'm finishing that up now, and I realized that there's a few different types of students. There's the ones that use the degree as a means to an end, where you have dreams lined up, but they won't happen unless you get that degree. Then once you get the degree, you don't really care what happens, which is perfectly valid. There's the ones that are looking to go further into academia, into grad school and beyond. And there's the ones that just don't care. And that's something that one of my professors had to tell me about when I first started teaching, is that realize that while you are a student yourself, a lot of the times the students that you will be teaching won't be taking their education as seriously as you would, because you are here getting your PhD. They're here getting an undergrad. There's a lot more variation involved. So I've learned to be sort of receptive to people's attitudes about education, because I know not everyone's going to want to do this. I don't expect everyone to do this. If it was that easy, there'd be a lot more doctors walking around.
All right.
And I've also had to create this work-life balance for myself, where this is something, shout out Dr. Brady. She told me right before I left my master's program that she had just gotten her PhD the year before. So she had just started working there for like a year. And I asked her, what advice did you have as a fresh PhD? She's like, don't forget who you are outside of this program. Don't lose yourself within this, because once you make it out on the other side, you're not going to like what you're looking in the mirror. So you can see behind me, I have Lego sets galore. I'm not going to show the whole tour, but this right here is only a sliver of what I've done over the last few years. A very expensive hobby, but still, I maintain my hobbies as much as I can, just because I want to realize that there's 2 things. There's 2 different me's going back and forth. There's MisterGH2, who we're having a conversation with right now, and Dr. GH2, the professional me.
So, OG Bam doesn't have the same. Doesn't have the different. I am the same no matter where I go. That's why probably why I'm still unemployed, because I'm the same wherever I go. Right. So that was everybody that's gonna watch this, because I know plenty of people that watch it beginning and the end. That's 20 minutes of icebreakers. Now we get to like pick his mind a little bit. Believe it or not, yeah. So intelligence is measured in different ways. It's defined in different ways. It's given in different examples. Depends on what we're talking about. Now, personally, how do you personally define intelligence?
How well you can discern information for yourself. And that especially now where you have a limitless supply of information at your fingertips. And I was sort of caught in the like generation growing up, because while I'm technically Gen Z, I'm the eldest of Gen Zs, 97 and beyond. So I am basically a millennial in every other form but the year. So I was in that generation where technology was becoming as big as it was now while I was in grade school. So a lot of this stuff was shifting to a lot more information being readily available. One thing I remember when I was in 5th grade, so this is 2007, 2007, 2008. A lot of what I would, because I was always the type of student to ask questions. I was always one to be like, okay, what's this? What's this mean? What's this mean? Because I would just like to learn. And at some point, my teacher told me, look it up. Now I'm 10. And in 07, 08, I don't have a cell phone. I don't have, and even if I did, it wouldn't be, what I have now, which is ironically a flip phone that's a smartphone at the same time. I don't have any of that at my disposal. The only thing I have is a stack of dictionaries on the other side of the classroom.
Yep.
But a dictionary can only tell me so much, or an encyclopedia, excuse me. Not a dictionary, encyclopedia. But that only tells me so much. I would want to know more about it. And now I'm constantly telling people, Google it. Because as much as I would want to answer that question for you, if I had to Google it to answer it for you, that means you could Google it to answer it for yourself. And that's not to say that Google is the best way to answer any question. But if you're asking me a what, or something that could be quickly explained by a Google search, that's one thing. But if you're asking me how to do something, I'm going to have to demonstrate. But if you can discern it, if you can retrieve information for yourself, as well as determine whether or not the information that you're getting is accurate and answering to your question, if you can do that well enough, I would count that as a high rank of intelligence.
Okay. There we go. Picking his brain. 3.5 minute answer. All right. Number 7.
Sorry.
It's okay. Trust me, Jay the Kid loved the app too when he was on here. Okay. This is a multi-part question again. Where does creativity come from for you? Do you think it's something people are born with, or something they can learn and cultivate over time?
So, to part one, creativity for me comes from a few different sources. I credit my father, MisterGH1, for my creativity with poetry. A lot of what I do is in a sort of poetic way. People have told me that I can be poetic when I'm upset. So a lot of what I do, and I do have, I haven't written in a while because poetry for me has been more of a coping mechanism than a creative outlet. So it's usually only reserved for when I'm really upset. But I think with that, for where it stems from, where if you're born with it or can be cultivated over time, I think there's a mixture of both. I think people are more naturally gifted to one form of creativity or another, whether that be drawing, crocheting, crafting. But I think that if you have the desire to do something creative that you don't necessarily have the skills to do that, I think that can be refined over time. You just have to have a good teacher. You have to have the discipline to keep up with it. And you have to accept that not everything you do with that is going to turn out perfectly on the first try.
I like that answer. I do, because I am not one creative person, but I have like ADHD creativeness, like 8 different things, and I'm good at most of them. But I really want to hone in on one of them, so I and then I forget and go to something else and try to do that. That's what happened in college. Start with history, end up with geology. All right. Here's one that when I wrote it earlier, I was like, yeah, this is gonna be good.
The dreaded question number 8.
Yeah. Would you rather be remembered as someone who asked the right questions or someone who had the right answers? And why?
That's surprisingly a simple, easy answer for me to give you. The one who asked the right questions. Because I would rather be the one that promoted people's learning than to be the one that stopped it. Now, I said this was going to be a simple answer, but to give you, I got to have a backstory for this. Growing up, I was the one that had the answers. I was the one that was always raising my hand with the correct answer. I was easy, the type. I was like, ooh, me. Got on everybody's nerves. Because, as a kid, I caught on quick. And I was eager to get the correct answer just to validate my own sort of, okay, I actually do know this. Ooh, what's this? I'm still sort of that way now where I'm liking, and I've talked about this before, where I like having like trivia quizzes thrown at me because I want to flex my knowledge. But at this point, I would rather ask the right questions, because if you don't ask the right questions, you're not going to figure out what you don't know. And I would, like I said, I would rather be remembered as the one that was always asking questions. But because if I always have the answers, I can't learn anymore.
It's kind of like having that question as kids. I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure if you heard it, but I know I've heard it a lot where I was living. What color is water? What color is the ocean? This is the actual question. As a kid, your brain says blue. As a kid that's very curious, you say, what other possibility could it be other than blue? And why? And that's when you find out that it is just a reflection of the sky. Or, that's a simple answer. And we go into that, we will be here for 4 hours. Somebody is in college and somebody who still reads his books from college, and it's a long show.
Mm-hmm. A lot of my old textbooks are down here.
Mine's in a box that weighs about 200-300 pounds. Hell, I like that question. That's a good question to have on handy. All right. This goes all the way back to exit 1. Where am I? Where do I move at again? This goes all back to question
Turn
1.
left at exit 1.
Shut up, you. I know where I'm going. What is the best thing your wife has ever baked for you, and what memory is tied to it?
It is a peppermint mocha cake for my 20.
Wait, she can do that? Mrs. GH2, I would really like the peppermint mocha cake in August. Thank you. Okay, continue.
So I'm going to send you a clip after this is over. I want you in your editing powers to put the clip right around here at about the 30-minute mark of a man named Simon. I cannot remember his last name, but he's from Cracking the Cryptic. I do not remember his last name, and I don't want to look it up right now. But he and his good friend Mark Goodliff run a Cracking the Cryptic website, or the Cracking the website YouTube channel where they do a regular Sudoku every day.
Mm-hmm.
Two Englishmen, incredible talent, like freaking whiz kids at Sudoku. But what thing Simon does is that he does birthday shout outs. All you gotta do is email and say, you know, such and such birthday is this from this place. We love to shout out before your episode starts. So she sent one in for me. And one thing about Simon is that he is a famous lover of chocolate cake with chocolate frosting, with a 1-to-1 ratio.
Oh.
And as the clip will show you, he said, "Now that is a proper cake."
And speaking of beautiful cities, we're going to move across the globe to Atlanta, Georgia for the next birthday. Guy, you've turned 27 today, and I know this because your wife Abigail wrote to us. It's nearly time for the Masters, isn't it? So Atlanta, Georgia is about to get busy. Augusta, Georgia, of course, being a place I would very, very much like to go and play golf one day. Anyway, yeah, this is the cake. So Abigail has made this cake, which is peppermint mocha chocolate cake. This is the first time you've made this, and look at this. I mean, that is a proper cake. And that cake, I mean, it does look quite calorific, and that's only to be commended. But the ratio of icing to cake, that looks quite decent to me. I mean, it could maybe do with a little more icing, but it does look good. Abigail, I think you've done a fantastic job there. And Guy, you're a lucky man. Happy birthday.
That was for my 26th birthday, I want to say. 26 or 27. I cannot remember which one it was. I believe it was 26. But that was it was made from scratch. I believe it was 2024's birthday. It was after we got married, I believe, because she used the stand mixer for this. So this will be March of 24, which was last year's birthday. No, I could be right. We'll figure that out. But that was when it was. And she made it from scratch, made the cake, the frosting has peppermint extract in it. Delicious. That was the best thing she's made so far. She's made a lot of good things, but that was the best one right there.
Well, I'm highly interested in it just because you can ask my father one day when you guys come down and visit. Hopefully, you know, he'll do better. You can ask this man what. This has no bearing. By the way, my favorite thing, I will give y'all a hint because we had that little thing going where $100, blah, blah. It's not peppermint or mocha. I'm just going to put it right there. However, when it comes to coffee creamer, that man will tell you anything with gingerbread or anything that's peppermint mocha, I will destroy it. So you've unlocked a BAM like trait. That's awesome to know that. I will be just send me that clip and I'll put it in here at this point. All right. A single Warframe question.
Ooh. Hold on. I found the clip. I'm gonna send it to you right now.
As you know, Warframe is known for its deep lore because it's so old and evolving narratives. So, do you think storytelling and gaming, you can use Warframe as the example, in gaming rival storytelling in other media, you know, things of books, movies, etc.?
So, with gaming, to clarify, your question is whether or not like gaming, storytelling and gaming can rival that of like TV movies.
Yeah. TV movies, books.
It can. With Warframe, because it's a game as a service, it's constantly evolving itself. So you have more opportunities to not only create the story, but then to tell it and then continue to build upon that. Whereas other games are sort of limited in that. But then you have games like God of War or Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, a lot of the Sony games where God of War is less of a single player RPG than a cinematic experience where you are interacting with that. But just as you're playing, the cutscenes and all the other stuff like that, it's like you're watching a movie, and all of a sudden, the director just drops a controller in your hand and say, "Keep going." We'll get to the next part in a second. Keep going. But yeah, definitely, like with Warframe's story, it takes a bit to get there. Given that I've played the game since 2016, so almost 10 years for myself, and the game's been out since 2013 on PC. And if you were to pick up the game right now, you can get through to the current point of the story in like a few days. But I had to wait months, sometimes years, for the next story installment to come out because I was playing alongside. And I understand that stuff takes time. It was something that I actually saw. I saw a TikTok the other day where someone was saying it must be heartbreaking for an author to spend months and years to write something or for themselves to release it to the public, only for someone to read it in like 2 days. And I think it was more of like I wonder if it must be that frustrating. I don't think it would be, because like for me with my thesis, I could read my thesis from my master's program in a few hours, but it took me 3 months to write it because it takes time.
Right. I mean, that's with anything that you can create, you can make. It takes 6, 7, 8 hours for most Southern families to cook Thanksgiving, and only 30 minutes to eat your plate.
Yeah.
So it's about the same for me before Warframe came out. For me, the same thing that God of War is cinematic. Halo, all the way up to like Halo 4 or 5. But when I stopped playing Halo, was full. You can put everything together. It was a movie. It was so good on their lore and storytelling that they made Halo as a TV show. A lot of people don't like it. I love it because it tells a new story of Halo. It's new to me, but I like the way gaming tells its story now. I mean, I do play game as a service, being Genshin, and Hoyoverse has the most games that have stories, constantly updating for the last 8-9 years, just like Warframe. All right, we are halfway through and 37 minutes into it. Now we get into the other halves of things. Is number 11. Is there a moment in your life where time felt slower or faster than it should have? What does that say about the way we perceive reality?
Definitely my wedding day.
Too fast or too slow?
Too slow. Where I was a nervous wreck at the altar. And not because I thought my wife was having cold feet or anything like that. I didn't doubt that for a second. But just the anticipation. I'm standing there, and the only other person up there is my father, who officiated the wedding. I'm standing up there, and I'm looking forward at all my guests that are sitting there waiting for me. They're all looking back at me, so I got like 20 pairs of eyes staring back at me. And I know that she's just, because where our venue was set up, it was like a sunken garden sort of thing. So she's coming in from behind, curling around and coming down toward me. Mm-hmm. So I know she's back there. I know because I see my mom and I see her mom getting everything set up, and I saw her father, go meet her there. Of course, I'm not supposed to turn around and see her because you're not supposed to see all that stuff like that. But just the waiting for it felt like forever, and it was only a few minutes later than I expected. But once the music hit, I started crying.
Yeah,
but I was just like, it was just a huge release of just pent up nerves.
Right.
And I was just so happy we had gotten there because it took us so long to plan everything. And it took us, it took us a good minute to get everything together. But then up until that moment, it didn't feel real. It felt real in that moment. Like, oh, I'm getting married. Wait a second. Like, everyone is here. I'm standing up here, and my dad can see that I'm nervous. He's trying to comfort me. He's helping me behind this. But yeah, that definitely took too slow. It felt too slow in my head.
Yeah.
What does that say about how we perceive things? It's really a relative thing for just perceptions of time, because I know different people perceive time differently, even though time is relatively measured in a constant state.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw there was a challenge a while back where it was like, ask someone to like count to a minute, or like you would just say a minute. Okay, starting now, tell me when you feel like a minute has passed. And every time I've done that, at like 30 seconds, they'll say a minute has passed. And it's like, well, unless you're counting or looking at a watch with a second hand on it, you're not going to know. And sometimes it feels like it goes slow, like kitchen timers. Like, how has it not been 2 minutes yet? And other times it's like 2 minutes already. I wasn't paying attention. It really I think it's a matter of focus or something. I'm not about to try to figure that part out.
No,
No,
we ain't got to go into the technical part of it this episode. I'm pretty sure I'll have you on again and pick you on the 21 academic questions.
Oh,
A 2-hour spectacle. All right. What's the hardest part about running a podcast?
The hardest part about running a podcast.
Ty answered this immediately. It took like a minute.
I know. I'm trying not to repeat what he said because I had a different answer for this. The hardest part about running a podcast for me has been relying on other people to get their stuff done. And that's not even a shot at any one of the podcasts. It's how I am. I am a control freak to a fault because I don't like something being out of my control. If I want something done or I think something should be done and I have the capabilities to do it, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna, get to work and say, okay, I got it. And at the end of the day, it makes me feel good that I know that I attempted to do it. Now, if it needs to be edited or it needs to be changed, so be it. But at least we have something to work with. It's just not just an idea floating in the air. I have so many different ideas that I would want to do. Sometimes something I don't have the capabilities to do so. But other times, I have a schedule. Some other people have a schedule. So I don't want to have to rely on people to do things that I would want to do if I can help it. And this has been a challenge that I've talked to Ty, I've talked to Love about this too, where the whole reason I'm building a PC, which I am, it's all the parts are behind my shoulder, is that I want to be able to streamline everything to one person, to where
someone else who understands,
because Ty and Loaf and Jiraiya, shout out Jiraiya, all three of them have fully built PCs. Orlando now has one too, because he just finished building his today, actually. So he was on the podcast and everything looking great. They all have hardware that is more powerful than what I'm currently using. And with it being Ty and Loaf and myself running the administrative side of it, I wanted to be the one to be able to step up and take over for someone if they cannot do it, whether that be recording, streaming, marketing, anything else like that. I would want to be able to at least have the materials to do that. But I can't do that unless I step up for myself. So I've made the commitment. I've asked for the Amazon gift cards and other stuff for Christmas and my birthday given that they're 3 months apart, it feels really good to have that just sitting there. Also, winning a fantasy football league will definitely help with that. getting myself to where I can step up in the way that I would want to, but I got to get there first. I'm almost there.
Waiting on it. I still have to I haven't decided if I'm just going to outright build a brand new one or just upgrade the one I have, which I've steadily been upgrading. At this point, I'm probably just going to upgrade this one and build a new one because I'm a freaking nerd. Us computer nerds do things that don't make sense to anybody. You know? Having 128 gigabytes of RAM doesn't make sense to anybody but me.
I definitely get it.
All right. If I forgot his answer on this already, but if you could actually no, I changed this question for you, but it's almost the same as his. If you could invite any historical or fictional character onto Playin Possum Podcast, one person, who would it be and what would you ask them?
That's interesting. So
it's a double-edged
sword.
One bring your professional life and your gaming life together. You got to pick one person, one character, or one historical figure.
I would get Floyd from Sunset Overdrive. If you're familiar with the game series, Floyd, and I would ask him, where can I get some overcharge? I would need to make some amps with this because I need to bring that cartoony Toon Force sort of lifestyle to like if I could bring you on and get all the skills of the protagonist in that game, I'm good. I want to ride on rails with my feet. I want to shoot a hairspray bomb that will blow up into smaller bombs. It sounds like fun.
See, when I ask people, because I was asking my family and my friends that are not on the Discord, I asked them the same question without the Playin Possum podcast, where just if you could bring them onto a show, and everybody, my mom, Jesus, my dad would be Lawrence Thomas or Lawrence Taylor from the Giants. That is weird. Everybody just know you're the first one that actually said video game character.
I was thinking either him or Kratos, but I'm not sure what I would ask Kratos.
For me, it's very simple. I'm not even going to tell y'all who it is. Y'all know. Y'all know.
Mm-hmm.
It's both real and fictional. So, number 14. But as close to freaky as this show has gotten was that non-answer. Where do you see Triple P in 5 years?
In 5 years, I see us in the WWE highlight packages of reactions, and I see us having a platform where people are going to want to come to our show instead of us going to get people to come up. Right. People are going to be, going up our inboxes saying, I want, like, when can I be on the show? When can I be on the show? I would love to work with you guys, and we just got to keep at it. We're only a year in, and we just passed 100 subscribers, and I am not in the business of trying to get too big too fast, because I know a lot of that is more just a star shining bright and burning out. Okay. I don't want it to be. I don't want it to be where we're overnight success. I would like it. I mean, that would be nice, if out of nowhere we just skyrocketed, but then we can't forget who we were before then or where we came from. We were just recording Discord conversations and putting it in OBS and sending it out to YouTube hours later. Now we're on StreamYard, streaming on multiple platforms at the same time. We still got to contend with algorithms and stuff like that. But I feel like in 5 years, if we all come together and still are able to maintain this cohesion that we currently have, I think I don't think anything's going to really stop us.
All right. Wow, we finally get down to the final 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 questions that are all the same that everybody before you have gotten. I did mention to you earlier that this would be the last 7 questions that these people see. It dies with you. So before it gets changed,
Of course.
keep it fresh. So what an honor. What has been your favorite moment in podcasting so far as a whole?
My favorite moment, and shout out to Chris because he took mine, was when he was telling the story about the woman that was trying to sell them a sticker bar for $3. And he was talking about how, you're trying to, you try to pay for your husband's visa with that, something like that. So right behind it is our Thanksgiving episode where Olivia, who is not on screen because this is before StreamYard had the capabilities to have anyone whose camera was off to still appear on screen.
Mm-hmm.
She is talking to us about her Thanksgiving dinner and her menu that she has. And she was talking about a menu that had turkey, steak, ham, and chicken breasts. All in the same. This is the first 4 things that she said out loud, and all of it. And so when I heard the chicken breast part, I'm like, "How many proteins you got?" And right as I'm finishing my sentence, Ty comes in talking about, "Yo, how much meat do y'all need? How much meat do y'all need?"
Wait, so here's what my mom's cooking. Well, I gotta go to the family group chat.
Got a whole group chat about this.
So there's a hickory smoked turkey, ribeye steak,
steak and turkey.
Grill.
Wait a second, hold on.
Steak on Thanksgiving is underrated. Steak is a good time.
No, steak and turkey at the same time.
That's a
chicken
crazy.
Grill, honey glazed ham.
How many proteins you got?
How many people?
You hands?
Yo,
How much fucking meat do y'all need?
Yo, I got
easily one of my favorite moments.
That's crazy. Ty is a damn firecracker for reactions. He really is. I'm glad he was as professional as he was, because if I got firecracker Ty, me and Ty together are a bad or a funny combination. So having that dynamic with him and me last week, as professional as we kept it before the show, it wasn't unprofessional about it. All right. If you could, number 16, a lot of people like this question in number 21 because they're opposites of each other. If you could send a message to your past self, what would you say, sir?
Don't break your own rules. Do not break your own rules. You set them for a reason. Don't go back on them. Now, there's a lot of things that I've done that I had come back on that I am not proud of. Not in the fact that of how they worked out. It's just more of like, I said I wouldn't do this for myself, but I did it anyway. What kind of, if I'm not going to follow my own rules, what rules am I going to follow? And most of them, they're just based on just feelings that I have. That in the moment when I'm making the rule, yeah, it makes sense. But then further down the line, when push comes to shove against that, I have to remember, and that's what I would tell my past self, is that you made that rule for a reason. Whether you remember it in this moment now is irrelevant. The fact that you made the rule is enough. Don't break them.
That's a good one, Gibbs. If you know, you know. I know you know. Never say you're sorry.
AS reference is crazy.
Yeah, it's my show. Still is my show. Now, number 17. Is there? I'm pretty sure you answered this once, but you're probably going to reiterate it. Is there a lesson you've learned the hard way that you think everyone should hear?
A lesson that I've learned the hard way and that everyone should hear. When people show you who they are, believe them.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that a good friend of mine, his name is Dale, but I'll always call him Payback because that was his gamer tag. That was one thing he told me about. Right before I found out that someone that I considered a brother was going to betray me. So the timing of that couldn't have been any better. But I have a bonus one for you. Because this one comes with a better backstory. So in 2018, summer 2018, spring of 2018. So right before my 21st birthday, I was junior year of college going to an inside out class. What an inside out class is that you get to go, you and your other students will go to a prison and take classes with inmates all together. So, and we would sit there, we would be in the prison library. It was basically like a glorified book club because we had 3 books to read over the course of the semester. They would receive photocopies of the chapters they would need to be reading for the next week. Be a once a week thing. And we would sit there, we would talk, get one-on-one discussions. We weren't allowed to ask what they were in for, nor it didn't matter to me. They were already in prison. I wasn't in any danger being there. I was actually the only male student from the outside that came in. Criminal justice is very saturated with women that I found out early, which is great for them. But I didn't realize it was such a woman-friendly discipline.
Mm-hmm.
That's just the key moment, but that's not the point. In one of the books, I call her a character, but this is actually based on a real person. This actually wasn't a real person. So she was a teenager who was in and out of jail for selling drugs and prostitution. And one instance of the officer's point of view was that they had brought them in, booked them to the whole process of that. Upon their release, this teenager was promising herself and the rest of her, and even the police department itself, is that she was going to try and better herself.
Mm.
She was going to try and do things the right way. She and get a job, eventually get an apartment, and everything you would want to do upon your release to not end up back in jail. A couple months go by, and she's in a tough spot. She's not able to get gainful employment because criminal record. She's not able to afford an apartment because she can't get the job. All the stuff that stacks up on having a criminal record. So what does she do? She goes back to selling drugs and back to prostituting herself, because that was what she knew how to do to make money, which is a sad reality that I've learned about. But it was one of those things where it just kept perpetuating the cycle. Now, in response to that, right after we finished reading that section, an inside student, is one of the inmates, an inside student we called him. His name is Kenny. And he was talking just about how a lot of people fall into that situation where they were pulled into prison, pulled into jail, or whatever, when they were trying to make money doing illegal activities, because that was what they knew how to do to make the money. Didn't really matter what they did. They needed money to do things they needed to do. And that was the way to make it. And then when they tried to change up everything, it's a lot harder and it takes less time to do so, or it takes more time to do so, to where it's not going to get it fast enough to where you need it to have, you won't have the money quick enough to pay for the things that are coming in. And he said, walk the spiritual life if you want to. Rent is due today.
Exactly.
You got to do what you got to do. Never forget that. I have no idea where Kenny is now. I hope he's okay, but that stuck with me.
Fun fact on that. I should have said this to begin with. I should have been in the intro. The guy that's sitting across from me in time space right now is a criminal justice student. I am a criminal, former. I'm talking about 2012 was when I got out. Been a while, but everything he says is true. You get that cycle, and that cycle that never one lets you go. It's not it's honestly nobody's fault. They want to say people say it's the criminal's fault. Some yes, to an extent, but even the system itself really doesn't. It gives you a choice instead of making. Other countries will make you try to learn stuff while you're inside, like Sweden and things like that. But the U.S. is like, no, you can sit there and just do nothing for 8 to 10 years. They don't really care because what makes them money is you going back.
You and I could talk about that alone for hours.
Yeah, we could too. It's just
I just taught a lesson about that the other day.
Like as much as I want to believe it's the system's fault, I have an associate's degree. I have a computer certificate that's really hard to get. Plus, I'm getting more. It can be done. Am I getting hired by nobody? Not really. The state I live in kind of still doesn't like criminals, even though mine was 13 years ago. So, either keep trying or go back to jail, and I'm gonna keep trying. Now, number 18. My dream crossover, I think I named this with one of the first two guests we had. It's already kind of happened. It was a ITC and Triple P. That was a great one. I wanted both at the same time. Pause.
That was a great episode too. That went on for 5 hours.
I'm still pulling clips from it, but it's not my preferred is probably going to happen in August, where I get chiseled and well, if he's still chiseled, it doesn't matter. It'll be Triple P. My counterpart, I think ITC and chiseled are each other's counterpart. Well, my counterpart would be Triple P. Mm-hmm. I enjoy the hell out of these people. That's why I'm always in their VC, like sneaking up what y'all doing today. So, given that, what is your dream crossover with another podcaster group?
RDC World. Easily RDC World. Matt, Mark, what Mark is doing, what Mark and his folks are doing. I know that our content isn't, aligned with goes. They do more anime and sports stuff. We do more wrestling. We do sports stuff as well, but not to the same degree as they do. But RDC World is like the perfect example of just not only of people that know how to work well together, but it's just a group of guys having fun. And I know that Mark Phillips usually gets the recognition for the one starting all of this. He's the one who's like in the celebrity games and all this stuff like that. But he always like, listen, if I'm gonna eat, I'm gonna make sure my boys eat too. So they got their own convention now. DreamCon, which is coming up soon. I won't be able to go, unfortunately, but they got their own thing going. People are pulling up and supporting them, and I would love to work with them one day, even if it's just to hang out for a day, just to do whatever. We don't have to do something super formal. That would be who I would want to work with.
It'd be like, honestly, if I thought about it, at least their main members and some of y'all's main members looking at each other. There's a lot of mirror in there, one looking at the other and being the same. Nep has his own. I think Dylan would be Nep's counterpart. Seems a little racist, but you can understand. But yeah, I could see that. I could actually see that because RDC World, if they get time to look at other things, like they have said other things. So,
shout out to Mark Phillips. He actually was responsible for one of my most viral tweets ever. They had made a skit a while back about how LaMelo Ball gets all the attention for doing the most random stuff.
Yeah.
And right after that sketch came out, there was a play in a Hornets game where LaMelo Ball did like a behind the back pass, and I think it was Miles Bridges was a recipient of that and did a windmill dunk, which was real nice. But the caption said LaMelo Ball with the nice pass in transition, and I'm like, this is exactly what and I tagged Mark was talking about. He retweeted, and all of a sudden I got like 80,000 likes. I'm like, yo, wait a minute.
Oh, that makes sense. All right, number 19. We are down to the last 3. Ooh, you might go overtime. You might beat Jay's time. Ha! You said nobody would beat it. Bam. Number 19. What's one thing you learned from being a part of this podcast, Playin Possum Podcast, that you didn't expect to learn?
That I have a low tolerance for bullshit.
You feel you didn't learn that from your students?
No, see, my students don't bullshit me as much as the podcast does, and that's surprising because I've been teaching 3 times as long as I've been podcasting. So, it's not even the bullshit from the podcast. It was around that time where I realized I'm just like because my students, other than us, like a select few, haven't really gotten on my nerves or gotten to me because I have the attitude of like, your education, you're investing in your education. If you don't put in the work, that is not on me. I'm going to do my best to make sure that you get the knowledge and you get the stuff, but you had to put the work in on your end. And if you don't want to do that, so be it.
Now that I think about it, you do have a GIF made of you where you just roll your eyes and you look at the camera. So yeah, exactly that.
But with the podcasting, it was more of a within Discord itself, it's one thing where you can just tune it out, or you can just log off for the day. Like, listen, like the chat's a little bit too crazy for today. I'm just gonna back out of this, or I'm just gonna keep reading and be like, yo, wait a minute, that's crazy. But with the Discords that I'm a part of, the Home of Nuggets Discord, I'm the head moderator there.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I wanted to be. I mean, I volunteered to be a moderator, but I was elected head moderator.
Again,
it's like, hey man, listen, he's always here. He's got the respect of everybody else. Like, go ahead and do it. I mean, I got a good rapport with Truth Honest himself, so I'm happily to accept the role and people respect me for that. But lately, like the last year and a half or so, things have gotten crazy. And I've already talked about the one crazy thing that happened between the podcast and the Discord, stuff like that. You can go check out Crash Out Tuesday for that one. But around that time, it was just like, yeah, a lot of things just I'm more ready to just cut you off than have to deal with it, because I don't have a tolerance for bullshit anymore. I don't think I ever did, but it was one of those things where it sort of opened my eyes. So like, I really don't have this, do I? I guess it just was never really tested before like that.
Yeah, I find it hard. I still tolerate a lot of bullshit because I have a fucking book again where it's nothing but bullshit.
That's a different kind, though. That's the kind that's gonna make you laugh.
Number 20. If you could create a podcast episode with an unlimited budget, that means you could fly people in if you wanted to. What would the theme or concept be?
It would be a panel post WrestleMania or a post wrestling show. So like, I would definitely want to do things that like they have, like WWE has like Raw Talk with Sam Roberts and them, to where like talent from the show that just went off the air like the day after would just come on, or something like a Chris Van Vliet where they have talent come in for like an hour or two interview, just talking back and forth like you and I are right now. Just not to like expose the business or anything like that, but I would love to just get the raw personal sort of feelings about that, because especially with professional wrestling, there's a lot of gray areas where you don't know what is real and what is kayfabe, and going back and forth. Sometimes it's good to just be like, you know what, I don't want to know that because it might ruin the experience for me. And if that's you, I totally get that.
Right.
I've gotten to a point as a wrestling fan where I can separate that, and knowing things about like it's like injuries, for example, with Bayley's injury for her WrestleMania match that just happened. Yeah, she was taken out in kayfabe. She was attacked and she had to be pulled from the match. But then an hour after that angle aired on the pre-show, a report came out saying she's not legitimately injured. She's fine. It's thing to write her out the story. I'm like, well, okay. Thank you for that. Kind of wanted to enjoy the moment for a moment.
Right.
I didn't want to immediately find out that she was okay. But at the same time, once I figured that out, I'm like, okay, she's being read out of the storyline. What's next?
Gotcha.
I can see this from a different perspective of, oh, I hope they're okay. Okay, they're fine. But what are we going to do about this? What's the next move? What's the next phase in the story do we want to find out? And I would love to be able to have that sort of access. Yeah, Chris Van Vliet and everyone else is doing, they're doing their thing, and I don't want to take away from them. But that would be something that I would definitely want to do myself.
A lot more interesting than what I got last week from Ty, and I even forgot what he said.
I think he had something to do with like we all just like vlog our experiences or something like that.
Oh yeah, that was
what we're doing in August anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's not less interesting, I guess, because I'm gonna be involved.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to vlog me going to Q Ramen anyways. All right, earlier, number 21. We made it. An hour and 10 minutes. We made it. Number 21. Earlier, I asked you if you could send a message to your past self. What would you say? So now the final question is, what is the message you want to tell your future self?
Keep going.
Just 2 in a row.
and then I know Ty said the same thing, but yeah, it's keep going. It's that you have the support that you're looking for. People are rooting for you. There are going to be people that are going to be rooting for your downfall, but don't pay attention to that. Know that people are on your side, and will be with you whether you succeed or fail in whatever you're trying to do. It's not going to be the end of the world.
Somebody damn sure I know somebody who needs to hear that. In Triple P. We made it. 21 full questions between the academics. And an hour and 11 minutes.
What was
Wait, it's going to be fun. No, hour 8.
Hour 8. Ha! Suck it, Jay.
Jay, you better come correct on that on that ITC versus HMN fantasy football league. If you fall behind 3-4 minutes already. Anyways, Mr. GH2, man, thank you for all those answers, dude. We are looking forward to seeing what more Triple P has to offer into the viewers. To find that out, I will link the podcast below in the description, as well as it's on the HGUnlimited.com website. They have their own page. They're doing big things. They hit 100 recently, and I think they're up to like 110 now. So they're growing faster now that they hit 100. Once they hit 1,000, they'll look at 1,000, blink, and they'll have 1,100. Like, it's just like that quick. So it's going to be faster. Slow game. It's only a slow game until the engine gets rolling, and then it's from there. It's faster. But yeah, we're going to be here every step of the way with them. I found a really good partnership with these people. And it's fun. They are fun. They're a little wonky at times, but they're fun. So as always, I am need a drink. I am your host, OG Bam, and this was 21 Questions, a high ground Q&A, and it has always been a pleasure with my guests, and I will see you all next time, and hopefully have them back on the show soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.